WhitTech here, back with another video. This one I'm really excited about. So we've all seen the music videos, the YouTubers, the streamers, they've all got these light tubes in the background on the walls, and they look really, really cool. But they're very expensive. The Quasar Science light tubes, they come in roughly around $250 a piece. That's crazy. But, you know, you've looked and you've seen there's a lot of people out there that have done videos where they've shown you how to make cheap, do-it-yourself light tubes. Unfortunately, most of these light tubes are using 30 or 60 LED per meter light strips. And the problem with those, well, I'll show you, because I made one here, and this thing only cost me like $13 to make. Yeah, it's super cheap, but the biggest issue, as you can see across here where the reflection is you get a lot of separation in between each of those LEDs. And it doesn't give you a very uniform look. Now for some people, this might be fine. And if you need to make a bunch of them, like I said, you can make one of these for 13 bucks, super cheap. All it is the tube, which is a T8 fluorescent tube guard, some foam wrapping, and your strip doubled up. A 6-foot strip doubled up, fold it on itself, stick to itself, stick it in the middle, and you're done. But what if you want something just a little bit better for just a little bit more money? Now this is what I'm going to call the budget light tube. Now while it's not as cheap as this one, it is going to run you right around 50 bucks. It is still way cheaper than a Quasar Science light tube. So let's show you the difference between a cheap light tube and a budget light tube. So as you can see, we're just putting off way more light. And we don't have any of that separation in the LEDs. And you have far more control. You can't do any of these kind of effects on these cheap $10 LED strips. I mean, you can even do stuff like a fire effect. Now, that's pretty cool. So, for the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how you can make your very own budget light tube that you can put anywhere, use any way you want, and you can even daisy chain them so you can have multiple tubes. So let's get right to it. All right, so now that we've shown you a difference between a really cheap light tube and a budget light tube, let's show you everything you're going to need to build your own. So the first thing you're going to need is, of course, your LED strip. Now, these come in a couple of different versions. And what you'll see a lot are the 30 LED per meter or the 60 LED per meter. Now on that super cheap one, that was 30 LEDs per meter. And you could see all the space between the LEDs. A 61's a little better, but you're still going to get that spacing in between your LEDs, unless you just go crazy on the diffusion, and then you're going to reduce the light output. So I suggest going with a 144 LED per meter strip. Now these usually come in 3.3 feet or 1 meter, and that's what we're going to use today. So we've got that. You're going to need an LED controller, and I got this one. It's the SP501E. It works with your phone, it works with Alexa, and I think it works with Google Home as well. So really cheap, works really well. And then you're going to need a power supply. It's just a 5-volt power supply with a barrel plug. You're going to need your tube. This is a T8, which is your fluorescent bulbs that you see up in the ceiling and stuff. But this is a protector or a guard. You can get these really cheap. You're going to need some scissors, some tape, and some wax paper. So I did a lot of different tests where I checked different materials like this thin foam that I tried doubling and tripling up, a thicker foam, and even like a fabric stuffing type of thing. The problem with the thin foam was that no matter how much I doubled it up, you could still see all the spacing between the LEDs. The thicker foam, it worked better at diffusing the light, but it lowered the amount of light output to where it wasn't really usable. And it was the same story with the stuffing or the fabric, whatever you want to call this. And then I thought, let's try like paper. So I tried normal paper. It was too opaque. But wax paper, you can see through it. Tried it, and it diffused amazingly. So we're going to go with that, super cheap. Everything in here is inexpensive or cheap. I'll put right here, I'll put the prices of everything. And so let's get to it. Okay, so when starting off, you're going to work with your light tube. And depending on what length LED strip you get, you're going to want to adjust the size of this. You can just use a sharp knife. This is really, really thin plastic, easy to cut. So I've already cut mine to the 3.3 feet, so it is still a very good length for a light tube. So we'll set that to the side for a moment, and we're going to get our LED strip. And what you want to do is you want to lay it out upside down, because what we're going to do is we're going to attach the diffusing film or the wax paper to it. Now once you cut your wax paper to length, set the LED strip aside. You don't need this anymore. And what we're going to look for is 2 layers of diffusion. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this around the tube twice. And that will give me how much excess I need to cut off. And cut it just a bit short because you're going from the outside diameter, because you're going to put it inside, to the inside diameter. Okay. So now, in just 2 simple cuts, you've got your diffusion film sized properly. So then you're going to fold it over to get your 2 layers. Then, with your LED strip face down, you're going to tape one end halfway across the back side of the LED strip. Now, certainly it's up to you how many pieces of tape you use. I like to go quite a few because I don't want this thing shifting around, causing any wrinkles or anything inside the tube. Because as smooth as you can keep this diffusion film, the better it's going to look in the end product. Once you have that done, you're going to take your paper, and you're going to kind of roll it around. Flip it on the underside so you have the other edge, and you can fold that down, and you're going to meet on the back side your paper, and then just tape that down. And like we discussed when we were comparing the 2 tubes, the 2 biggest factors in diffusing light is the material, which in our case will be the wax paper, and then the distance. Now a lot of the tubes DIY tubes that you see online, you'll see that they'll try to put the LED strip in the middle. And the problem with that is you're getting it way too close to your diffusion film, and it doesn't allow the light leaving the LEDs enough space to where the angles converge. So the reason we do it this way is we're going to have the LED strip with the back of it on one side of the tube, and then it will have almost a full inch of space between the light and the diffusion film, which is creating kind of a dome around it. So then you've got basically your tube with your diffusion film. Take off your end caps of your T8 tube guard. And then just feed it in. Now you will probably get a little bit of wrinkling, and it won't be a complete tube as you put it in, but I've got a fix for that once we get it all the way fed to the other side. All right, so now you have everything inside of here, but it's a little wrinkly, and we want to kind of straighten that out. So you can just take a dowel rod or any long, thin piece of wood or metal or plastic, and you're just going to feed it in there, facing against the LED strip, and then use that to force your paper all the way out. You want to do that on both sides. Until the paper is now flush against the tube all the way around. After that, just put your caps back on. And there you have it, one light tube. So let's go ahead and plug it in, and let's see how good this looks. All right, before we light it up, let's turn the lights down just a little bit. Once you plug it in, depending on the controller you get, it might automatically power up, or it might require that you use an app. In this case, it requires an app. So let's go ahead and turn it on. And look at that. And you can see just the reflection off my face. This is putting out a ton of light, and it's not even turned up all the way. So that's a little bit brighter. Now the nice thing about a lot of these, the apps will give you different effects. Or you can just pick static colors. So you can see this is just, it's putting out an absolute ton of light, and it's very even. I can get this right up to the camera, and you're not going to be able to see the individual pixels. So there you go. A really quick, really simple, inexpensive way to have your own Quasar Science light tube. So go out, get the stuff, enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. As you can see, they go together very quickly, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.